Hey folks, welcome back to another Dice Tower preview. I'm Mark, and today we're taking a look at Mortal Kin, which is brought to you by Tribal Games. It's for 1 to 4 players, ages 16 and up, and games generally run about 60 to 120 minutes and features over 30 hours of gameplay. 6 mere mortals, haunted by visions, find themselves bound to each other on the sands of an arena. Although they are divided by separate motives, they come to realize that what binds them together may provide the purpose behind their visions. Step deep into the shadow, for only then you might find what you seek. Explore, grow and learn, loot and gather. Escape the Death's Blade by hair and you might be rewarded. Survive, combine, and through great effort lead your mortal to victory against both horrors of this world and the ones within. Your decisions will be your ultimate weapon. Wield the artifacts of the fallen gods and unravel the history behind the curtains of massacre. Make sacrifices along the way. Be cunningly humble and fearlessly greedy. Forcing your own playstyle against the game or your fellow players will be the pillar of your ascent, or perhaps your downfall. Test your limits, concentration, and tactical thinking, for this world has been abandoned by hope and the gaze of the gods. Welcome to the world of Mortal Kin. So setup on this one is largely dependent on the scenario you're playing, but there are some basic things that we'll jump into. Here we're just set up kind of randomly. I don't want to spoil any of the scenario, any of the story. There's a lot of richness to it for sure. But you will get a character, and your characters, your heroes in this game, are known as mortals. And we're going to be using the pit fighter as the example, but there's several to choose from. You have your main stats, as you'd expect. You've got your wounds, how much health you have basically. You've got trauma, which just kind of represents sanity in the game. And you have different ways to heal those. You have a card for bandages and trauma that you can spend tokens in order to heal and bring yourself back into a more stable position from that trauma. Now you have 3 main stats in this game, all of which can be upgraded as you progress through the campaign and all the scenarios, but these are going to be very specific to this game. So you've got Bess, you've got Siri, and Uru. Now, again, these are going to play into different type of checks that you're rolling, maybe weapons that you're using, additional damage you're performing, all kinds of different things these are going to do for you. Each of the mortals have their own special abilities, and you'll get to choose 2 of them, but there are 4 different types. You've got passive abilities, you've got support abilities, special attacks, and reflex abilities. Now, you're also going to get an additional ability, which you'll be drafting at the start of the game. These are just strictly called mortal abilities, so you will have 3 that you can potentially tap into for use throughout the game, and typically you're going to be using an action point when you activate one of those. Some of them will have charges, and you'll exhaust them and so forth, but it just varies based on the type of ability. Now, each character will also start off with some starting gear, as you'd expect, like weapons and trinkets, things like that. For a pit fighter, we start with these heirlooms that are going to be your main weapon as well as an offhand weapon, because you can have both. This one in particular is this double-fisted thing you're doing, which I really like. And you'll see some stats on the right side of this card. The first one in white is going to be what you roll in defense. The second number in red is going to be what you roll in offense. And then the next number in the drop is going to be how much damage you inflict when you actually hit. And those are the main key aspects of those particular types of weapons. Lots of different types to be had throughout the course of the game. Now, the trinket that comes with the pit fighter to start allows him to get fate when he makes a kill. So fate is awesome because it allows you to do numerous things, but big thing here is to re-roll something that went poorly for either a check or perhaps in battle, things like that. But spending these fate tokens and accumulating them is going to be a key aspect of everything you're in the game. Your heirlooms are just your starting gear in this game, and as you move around the dungeon, like I said, there's numerous types of weapons and gear and trinkets to be found, relics, really some really neat things. So you'll find chests, you'll find weapons racks, all kinds of different ways to do this. Loot enemies after the end of a battle, you'll get rewards and things like that. So as you get these loot cards, you'll find there's numerous things going on here, and there's even ways to do upgrades, especially if you have materials and different things to add to your different types of weapons. But as you find weapons, some of them might have additional requirements, like the scimitar. It's going to have a requirement of one of the basic stats. In here, you need a level 2 Siri in order to wield this weapon. But through the course of looting, you might also find the bladed hilt, which will give you an additional dice you can roll when you attack with this weapon. And then finally, you might also find an enhancement kit, giving you new special abilities for this weapon. Again, combining all 3 cards, giving you this sense of crafting your own type of weapon. Now let's take a closer look at one of the enemy cards. You have your basic abilities here, much like you do with your mortals, but everything you need to know really is on this card. You have their health, you have their basic movement, their initiative that they'll have in battle, and then of course how many dice they roll into attack, how much damage they do. It could just be regular wounds, or it could be trauma that they impose as well, and then you'll see what they use for dice and defense. Now they might also have levels of armor or soak value, which just allows them to absorb damage, and then they have special abilities that they can invoke and what they're going to be targeting, what type of you the heroes are going after when they're engaged in battles, how they target and so forth. They might have resilience, like against poison. Things like that are all labeled on their cards. Now there's also boss level monsters, as you expect. You'll see that they're huge in the dungeon, and they will have their own deck of cards that they'll be pulling from and attacking with. The way dungeons are set up in this game is that you have area tiles, and when you're not in combat, you can basically move from one area to the next and explore, and we'll look at exploring here in a minute. But you also have zones within those tiles which really come into play when you move from one to the other and when you engage in battle. And they even have this handy little zone reference card that you'll put into play as a new tile comes out, so you know where to start. So typically you'll be moving into a zone 8 as you move in to a new tile and explore an area, and you'll orient the zone reference guide as you pull out those new tiles. So it's very straightforward as you're moving around and how you engage with different things. But as you engage within the dungeon, there's numerous things that can happen. So the Explorer deck you'll be setting up based on the scenario that you're playing in, and there's various things that can come up as you explore the tiles. You might engage in combat, or you're just finding specific things, like it might give you the hand where you can loot, or potentially you'll find chests or gilded chests. Gilded chests are going to yield these different types of relics, but you'll still need keys when you find chests. So that's another thing you try to loot for and find keys and do various things around, but there's lots of different things that can happen here. And within the Explorer deck, there will be clue cards. And when you engage with a clue card, you go back to the scenario and read what the first clue is, the second clue, and so forth. So you'll know how many of these to add to your Explorer deck. Also, you may come across tokens that reveal an encounter. So you'll pull an encounter card, it'll say here, go to encounter 12, you'll again look in the scenario book and read what happens. Lots of interesting aspects and story-driven things can happen as you move through the dungeon, engage with these different aspects. There's also just simple traps that can trigger. You can run into things and it'll tell you to roll a 6-sided dice to engage with it, or it might tell you to roll against one of your stats as you try to avoid it, or simply a wandering mysterious stranger comes across your path and you'll have to engage with that as well. So you have tokens that represent all those things, and based on the Explorer card will tell you that you'll put these out, and you'll have to use action points to engage with any of these tokens. So on your turn, when you're in this Explorer phase, the various options available to you are to simply move from area to area based on your movement level. Or you might explore and draw a new tile, draw one of those Explorer cards and do what it says. Interact with the different tokens that come into play, and use items that you have, or activate abilities, or trade with one of your fellow players, trying to gear up for that battle that might be coming. And quite often, as you'd expect, you'll pull an Explorer card that will force a battle. It could be an ambush or just a straight up battle. You're going to draw a combat card. Combat card will show you what type of enemy gets put into play and where they're positioned in the zones in the tile that was revealed based on that Explorer card. So you're going to put them out there, and then you'll set up a series of cards for the mortals, the heroes, as well as the enemies, and put them in their initiative order. Each of the enemies will have a base that corresponds to the number of their cards, so as you add wounds to that enemy, you know who you're affecting and so forth. As well as status effects like bleed or poison. Lots of different things can happen with those effects, as well as just doing straight up damage, but you'll keep track of it on those cards and then remove them as they get eliminated. As well as the heroes can be KO'd as well. You have knocked out cards for that, but what I love about this system is just how straightforward the battles are. It shows you exactly how many attack dice, which are red, and how many defense dice, which are white, are going to be rolled, and you roll them all together, and you're looking for successes. A 1 and a 2 is a failure. A 3, 4, and 5 are successes, and a 6 is a critical, which gives you double success, basically. So if you succeed, then you just do the damage that your weapon shows, or whatever the enemy's weapon is. You'll do that damage to the opponent. And however many successes you have, that's how much damage you do. So you could really accumulate a lot of damage if you have a ton of successes, especially criticals. If you rolled 3 6s, it would be brutal to the enemy for sure. And of course, you'll have to take into account any levels of armor and soak value that you'll have to reduce the amount of damage that you've done to the enemy, perhaps, things like that. But also on your turn, you just have different types of things you're doing in this combat phase, which is just basic stuff like moving, attacking, doing your basic attack, using an item, or perhaps using one of your ability cards. And again, you're going to have 2 action points for either the explore phase or the combat phase to engage with this world and the enemies as you battle back and forth. So really, those are the basics of what you're doing in this game, but it all comes down to the scenarios that you're playing and how you engage with that story and build up your characters between the different levels and then kind of make it that campaign that you travel through. And there's even a bonfire stage. One character will have a bonfire token, and they can choose to say, hey, we're gonna do a bonfire. People need to rest up and gain some health back before we continue. So there's lots of different things that can happen within the bonfire, again, going to be dependent on what that scenario is that you're playing. All right, folks, just a reminder once again, this has been a Dice Tower paid preview, and everything you've seen has been in prototype form, so keep a close eye on the campaign for any changes that still may occur. Now, with that said, this is my type of game for sure. It has the narrative, the story-driven, cooperative play, building up your characters, getting new types of gear, and I love how you level up gear in this game. That's one of my favorite aspects, how you basically craft a weapon or an item to the way you want it to be and use it throughout the campaign and all the different scenarios. So lots of options available to you. I like the explore phase, how you can find new type of weapons and gear. And you know what, this world really feels like it's a tabletop RPG that is set in like the Conan type of universe. It has that vibe, that feel around the story, the different types of characters and the aspects that they embody, as well as the different types of loot and relics. Definitely put me in mind of that type of world. But folks, ultimately, if this looks like something of interest to you, I'm sure they'd appreciate your support. So I think that's it from me, and until next time, we'll see you at the table.